Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you guys a bit about my car settings or my car drift tunes. Because a few people have come across my channel before that have all said the exact same thing. They're all tried to give me shit about my car settings or my car tunes. And I'm basically going to explain to you guys in this video why I choose what I choose for my drift cars. Right now, I have a Mazda RX-7 Spirit R-Type A, the FD. It's the orange one, by the way, if you guys don't know which one I'm talking about. I've shown this in previous videos all the time, but I'm going to show you guys, or explain to you guys, why I choose what I choose on my drift cars, and basically, for everybody that kept asking to, you know, whatever, about my drift tunes, because they come across my channel and start giving me shit about them, I basically all gave them the exact same response, and that's because I use a controller. That's why my tunes are like this. So I've been playing a lot of Gran Turismo 6, obviously. That's why my channel is kind of based on it. So, I've played Gran Turismo 5, I've played Gran Turismo 6, I know what the cars drive like, I know what they drift like, I know what they slide like, I know how to tune a car for drag racing. I don't know how to do it correctly because I haven't taken enough time to put into the game to actually do that, but, you know, I've dedicated more of my time into drifting than in drag racing, so I'm a little bit more, I'd say experienced in drifting with a controller in Gran Turismo 5 and 6. So, let's get started. Body, pretty self-explanatory. Lighten the car as much as possible. Sometimes you may need to put weight on the back, just because, you know, to throw the weight around. But in this, since it's a 50-50 weight distribution, it doesn't really matter. Even if it's, you know, about 10% off on either side, I still leave it the way it is. I don't change it because I can just work around that, you know, through the suspension and power and all that stuff. So it's not really that big of a deal to me to change the ballast. That's why I don't do it very often on my drift cars. Power, I put enough power into the car to basically handle it myself, and right now this thing has, I think, max power, which is 653 brake horsepower, and I just left it the way it is. I wanted to have the most amount of power in this car, and I did, so why not? I don't know, sue me. But anyway, in the drivetrain, some people have been giving me shit about this as well, because I end up putting too much acceleration sensitivity in. So basically, when I floor it or wherever, when I accelerate, most of the power goes into the back wheels, and there's too much power going into the back wheels, so the back wheels start to spin. Now, the way drifting actually works is you need the back wheels to get a lot of power, but enough power to not to spin freely, properly. And basically, it needs to push the car, right? Not to end up spinning the back wheels enough to slide the car. So, that's basically how a drift car works, right? The back wheels push the front wheels while it's going sideways, you know, counter steering or whatever. And, you know, you just basically steer the opposite way. And that's how you go around the corner in drifting. But what I do is I slide the car. I don't push the car along. I'm using this phrase because somebody that came across my videos has said it to me, you know, think push, not slide. Well, I can't think push, not slide when I'm using a controller because it's not the exact same thing as me using a steering wheel. So basically, I put a little bit more power into the back wheels so I actually get them to slide, because if I get them to slide, then I basically have a little bit more freedom in the back and I can control it a lot easier with a controller, especially with the analog or whatever the joystick that you're using. It's a lot easier to control the back if it goes sideways by itself than it is if you're basically using you know, less acceleration sensitivity, which then I can just, which is what I use on like normal cars, which was what I use on like, you know, cars that I tune for grip racing or just for track racing, is obviously I'm going to use less track or less acceleration sensitivity, because then I'm going to get, you know, a lot of grip in the back tires and it's not going to obviously slide. So that's why I use more acceleration sensitivity in the back. Initial torque is basically when you want the acceleration sensitivity to activate. And then braking sensitivity, I don't really use that much, because braking in this, I don't really use braking efficiently in drifting. I mostly either just use the handbrake or, you know, I slow down before a corner, which isn't really something that I care about, because I don't slow into the corner and I go sideways, because I slow down before the corner and then I pop the handbrake and go sideways, or I either floor it and then the back steps out and then I go sideways. So braking sensitivity doesn't really do much for me. Again, clutch and propeller shaft, that's kind of self-explanatory. You just do it so it changes gear faster. My drivetrain for the transmission, I usually tune these, you know, depending on what track I'm driving on. So this thing always will change. If I'm having problems with an actual gear, then I will go and end up actually changing the gear. But for the moment, I usually just mess around with the max speed, and I see what track I'm on, and I see basically what it drives like once I'm on the track. Now the suspension, which is the most important one, which is what people kind of, you know, how should I say this? They get affected very easily by my suspension settings. But anyway, the ride height, I usually choose whatever I think is right. I don't really know how to explain this to you guys. I need a bit of travel, but I don't need a lot of it because I like my car to be stiff. If it's too loose, then it'll wobble around too much, especially when I'm using the joystick to counter steer with. So when I keep using the you know, the steering to turn left or right, whatever, the car will start to wobble, so it won't be very stable on the ground. So that's why I choose a stiffer suspension. That's why my spring rates are so high, and they're not, you know, somewhere like in the middle or whatever. I can drift with the cars that have like spring rate about, you know, in the middle. Because there is a BMW M4 or the Jag XKRS. If I put like comfort soft tires on that thing, I can drift that thing for days, you know, just completely stock, and they just drive so well. And the spring rate on those are like really loose. So it ends up being a really good car if I do end up with the, you know, the spring rates being more loose. But with the stiffer spring rates, it's just, for me myself, I just found them out to be like a lot easier to control. Dampers, again, go with the spring rates. I usually like to have basically, you know, a little bit of a softer setting on the front than in the back. And then for extension, of course, it's going to be a little bit more than for the compression. Of course, it depends on what car I'm driving, because they're obviously going to change from car to car. I can't have them the exact same on every single car. So on some of them, you'll see these a lot stiffer, or on some of the other cars, you probably see these a lot looser. So there's either more travel in the dampers, or there's less travel in the dampers. Anti-roll bars, these change all the time as well, again with the car settings. This is the movement of the chassis, or how much you want the car to roll. These sort of go hand in hand with the spring rate. So if you stiffen up the spring rate, these will probably have very little use to you. I can put these up even higher, and you'll barely feel a difference with the anti-roll bars, so it doesn't really do too much to me. Now for the camber and toe, I found that the camber and toe obviously, again, are different on every single car, but I use a lot more camber in the front than the majority of people use, and then obviously with the toe, I try to make it so the camber and the toe basically go together with each other. Now in the back wheels, I try to make it so my car, like, I keep changing my settings all the time, because I kind of try to evolve, and I try to make my cars slide sort of like, you know, you drive it with a steering wheel, but I'm trying to drive it with a controller. So it's kind of difficult trying to transition to that phase where I have a setup on a car that, you know, that's supposed to be for a steering wheel, and then I drive it with a controller. So I keep changing my setup, because I'm trying to basically change it all the way to being a normal car drift tune. But obviously this is still going to be different since I'm using a controller. But I'm trying to transition to that, you know, pretty, you know, nice and slow. But yeah, so the camber at the back is around 2 to about 3. I don't really go a bit higher than that, just because I keep changing the camber at the back. And same with the toe. I try to keep my back wheels kind of flat, even though there's still a lot of camber and a lot of toe on them. I still try to keep it sort of flat, or as flat as I possibly can. And if it doesn't work, then I'll end up bringing that up, just because I want less of the wheel touching the road. So that's pretty much all what my setup is. And obviously I drift on comfort hard, or medium, or soft, or whatever. I just choose whatever it feels right for me. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully I explained it well for you guys. I know I kind of stuttered in some parts because I ended up, you know, confusing myself, or either looking for the word that I wanted to use. But still, hopefully you guys understand why I use the setup I use. And if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below, because I will end up answering your guys' questions. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys later.